What is going on, everybody, on this late night Saturday night? It's your boy D Sparrow, aka the Bad Superman. And if you hear the music, you already know where we're going with this. This will be an all elite night because we're talking all elite wrestling. And I got a special guest co host with me tonight. I got my man, Trey Davis, who's been a huge supporter. And when I say huge, I mean huge supporter of Snap Customs. And this is the first time we're actually going to have a verbal conversation. So I'm actually glad to have him on the show tonight. Trey Davis, are you that big boy?
I'm here, man, and I'm excited to be on the Snap Customs podcast.
Man, I am glad to have you, man. But we're going to talk about, like I said, we're going to talk about all elite wrestling. But we got to talk about elite marks. We got to talk about elite marks fantasy wrestling. So before we get that started, I gotta do my plugs. And first off, shout out to the boss man Wesley McRoberts. He been working hard at the toy store out there,
He's
and
the man.
he is the man out there, Mount Carmel, Illinois, 930 West 9th Street. Right at that Indiana border, inside of 10 Pins Bowling. Go in there, support that young man. That's how he feeds his family. I gotta respect the brother because that was a hard journey to get to. So he's there. Christmas is coming up. Y'all go in there, get them toys to them kids. They got it from the smallest kid to the biggest kids. So definitely support that. Support snapcustoms.com. As always, on Facebook. Check us out on Instagram. Check out the toy store on Facebook as well. And now we got this Get Snap podcast. This is episode number 3. I know you missed this because it's been a minute, but we just gonna have a good time. But before we get started, Trey, we're gonna start with you. I mean, talk to us about elite marks. What is it? How you got involved in it? I mean, how could people get involved in it?
Okay, well, briefly, started out, I was a little bit of a closet wrestling fan. So when people were tagging me in wrestling articles, it was like, okay, I'm creating this page with all 3 or 4 of my wrestling friends. So that's kind of how it started. And then they knew somebody who knew somebody who knew somebody, and it happened to be a lot of guys in the area. So it just kind of grew like that, and then going to all the wrestling shows and meeting people, getting them to join up, and then they've invited people, and it's grew to be around 520, I think, at this time. So
Nice.
Really excited about that. I think we're a little bit different than your typical wrestling page. We have exclusive podcasts for the page, a variety of different podcasts as well. Georgia Indie Talk. We do a lot of independent wrestling talk on that, and then we have a old school podcast where we review old school events from the 80s and the 90s.
That's my speed right there.
Yeah, NWA, WCW, WWF stuff, all kinds of stuff, and I do that with the Professor Andrew Stone. He's watched wrestling for, I guess, around 50 something years now. So he's got a vast knowledge of wrestling. And, we also do an Elite Marks podcast where it's just kind of a panel thing. And recently we just put out the Zach Attack podcast, or it's a variety of topics. And then Zach's kind of got a different point of view than I would say most wrestling fans on the page. So that's what kind of makes that interesting. As far as the fantasy wrestling, we have a second page, which is a fantasy wrestling, and I know what you're thinking. It's not Dungeons and Dragons. It's not what you would think. It's typically like a lot of other fantasy sports. Of course, this is just even simpler. You're picking who you think will win at pay-per-views, and you climb up the rankings through there. And we give away prizes, and we also put belts on the line. We have belts and everything. So it's very interesting. I would love for you and Wes to actually get involved. You've already got the background to do it, man. You got the badass attitude here, and I mean you'd be perfect for it.
I got to get up on that. And you talked about title belts. And let me,
Oh yeah,
all the people that's listening, I got to give shout again to Elite Marks because they've come to us. Shout out to our vendors. You came to me, got a title belt from us. You loved it. Got it was in the big gold belt
yeah,
form.
absolutely.
Had the Elite Mars logo on it. I mean, it was fresh. And we got another one of your guys. He came to us. He's getting one made. He's gonna get it in
Yeah, he's
red.
getting a custom made. That's Andrew Stencil, who is known on the page as Anarchy, and he's getting his own custom belt made.
Yep, he's getting that done. I already talked to the vendor. They are working on the etching part, getting everything prepared. So hopefully by next week I can get him something. So again, man, I appreciate you. I know Wes appreciates you. We got to do more of these, and I'm sure we will. Like I said, for those that don't know, this is the first real conversation we've had other than message. That's why I said I had to get him on the show, and we about to have a good time tonight. Like I said,
Oh, absolutely.
all elite wrestling is the topic, and there were some questions that were sent in, and it's gonna be some fun ones. I would love to hear your input on this. So let's
Okay.
get this ball rolling. So the first
All right, let's
question
do
is,
it.
what makes AEW different from other promotions?
Well, in my opinion, what makes AEW different from other promotions is the just the production. Honestly,
Okay.
there's a lot of promotions out there with a lot of great talent. MLW, ROH, the list goes on, but AEW has gathered somewhat, I believe, of a super indie roster together, and with high production and money behind it, um, it's almost as good as WWE, I would say. And I mean, if that's debatable, some people may feel it has better production than WWE, with TNT producing a lot of the stuff. So yeah, I think that's what separates it from other ones. I think the booking is drastically different from WWE. I like some of it, and some of it I dislike. But we can get into that into another question.
Yeah.
Go ahead. What do
I,
you think?
I think the difference for me, I think they give a lot of more young guys chances.
Yep,
Whether they're just to make the other guys look good, we get to see them. We get to see what they can do, and I think with AEW Dark being on, I think that's a huge opportunity for young talent.
absolutely. And I've met a lot of that young talent through Southern Honor, which is a big independent promotion in the state of Georgia, ran by Gary Lamb.
Shout out to Gary
A lot of
Lamb.
the Oh, sorry, say that again.
Shout out to Gary Lamb.
Shout out to Gary Lamb, name dropping a little bit, but some of the talent that you've seen on there, like a David Ali, a
Hmm.
Corey Hollis, a Dana Jordan, Danny Jordan, excuse me. Just a lot of the talent that you've seen on there has came through Southern Honor. So Southern Honor is a bit of a NXT for AEW.
Most definitely. Next question. What wrestler that's currently on that roster do you see becoming a big star in AEW?
Well, that's tricky because a lot of the guys that they've gotten were already stars from other promotions, and then some of their other talent were I guess stars in WWE. Um, I guess as far as like somebody kind of rising and being kind of their own in an essence, even though he was kind of big in MLW. Um, Man, that's really tough. I like Lance Archer. MJF is another one, a great heel. There's quite a bit off the top of my head. That's kind of I really needed to kind of look at the roster a little bit. Man, I don't know. That's a tough question.
I think for me, and I think one of the guys I think can be a huge star if they use him correctly. I think would be Sammy Guevara.
Oh
I,
God, absolutely. And I brag about him all the time. I knew I was forgetting somebody. He's awesome, man, and he knows how to draw heat, dude. He is
yeah,
like he is such a great heel. I see a lot of Eddie Guerrero in him.
Yes,
The
yes.
high flying moves are awesome, and he's great on the mic too. Awesome.
Like I say, he's a young kid. I definitely see a future for him. Like I said, if they push him right, and of course, I see Darby Allin being a huge
Yeah,
star. I'm
yeah, and
definitely
he's
a
almost
big fan of
already a
that.
huge star. Yeah,
Like I said, that's what I like. Like I said, you got to mix. You got a mix of veterans, and you got a mix of young guys, and they're
yeah.
not pushing just those names that we know. That's why I give AEW a lot of respect. I've actually been. I don't know if you have actually been to an AEW Dynamite before all this COVID crap happened,
Yeah. I
and
went to the Huntsville show.
I went in South Haven, Mississippi, and to go back to the previous country, what makes them different is the fan interaction when they're at.
Right. Yes, absolutely. I went to the Huntsville show, and I actually had a friend. He had his T-shirt signed right in the middle of the match by Orange Cassidy.
And
So I mean, just the fan interaction, man, is just unbelievable. But
and
they
speaking of that,
truly care about their fans. It feels like.
I don't know if you remember they had a video where they had a little kid. I mean, just like if Orange Cassidy had a son,
Hmm.
that was him. They brought the little kid in the ring. He did the whole spiel like Orange Cassidy. He pinned Cody. It was hilarious. And
Awesome.
they did that after AW talk and everything, but they put it on video. It went on social media. It was definitely awesome.
Oh
So
man, that's awesome.
next question: what are your thoughts on the
All right.
women's division?
Okay, well, on my podcast and on the page, I've been criticized by some, and then there are others that agree with me. I feel like their women's division is lacking. At the same time, this is a brand new division. Basically, it's about a year old. I still consider it brand new. They still need something. Um, for me, a lot of their Asian wrestlers, they seem to have the same gimmick, so it's hard to tell
Agreed.
them apart. I don't know where Awesome Kong is. I don't know if she's hurt
Yeah,
or
I
what's
think
going.
I believe she got hurt.
Well, yeah, she added to it. That sucks that she got hurt. Then you had some other women that were involved in some of the battle royals at the
I mean,
beginning. That
we haven't seen Rio
no,
in a while.
you really haven't. Haven't seen Rio in a while. I don't know, man. I guess it's just something is lacking for me. Um, I haven't been able to get into it. Nyla Rose, I love her being paired with Vicky Guerrero, so I am into that. I like that. But as of now, there's just nothing that's been able to really grab a hold of me. The matches are great. There's nothing. I've got no problem with the matches. It's just the stories and the personalities aren't really connecting with me,
Mhm.
and that would be probably my biggest gripe with AEW.
I agree. Like I said, a lot of those ladies in the roster, a lot of people maybe don't know. I'm a big fan of Britt Baker. I think she can be.
She is
She can be the
definitely.
top heel.
Oh, she is so great, man. I do agree with you on that, and it sucks that she got hurt, but I think she's coming back.
Oh yeah, I think when she comes back, I definitely see them putting the title on her, and I will see her probably having a feud with Rebel, that AKA Reba. But I said I think she's really helping that women's division. I think they're trying too hard on Big Swole. I think it's just kind of just let her grow. I think that they're kind of pushing it a little bit too hard on her. But I do enjoy the women's tournament that they're having right now.
Yes.
I do enjoy it. I think that's a little different. You bring in wrestlers in and out, and I think that's another thing.
Yeah, and
Going
they're
back to
trying
the
to grow
previous
the
question,
division. Yeah, they're
right?
they're they're trying to grow the division, and I think they're going to be there. I would love to see Tolly's daughter come in and really just kind of mix things up with some of the women. But she's got a bad reputation. I don't know where she lies politically in the back, but she would be an excellent choice to bring in to kind of really spice up that division a little bit.
Definitely not. This is one I was kind of touchy about asking because you know how some people are, but I'd love to hear your perspective. Do you have an issue with Nyla Rose being in the women's division?
Well, on the Zach Attack podcast, Zach does have an issue and makes a joke out of it. Uh, Personally, I don't have an issue with it. We are talking about, people are like, well, it's not fair. It's not fair. Like, well, what are we talking about? We're talking about, pretend fighting. Yes, they get hurt. It takes an extreme amount of athleticism. To my knowledge, she hasn't hurt anyone.
Exactly.
So to me, I don't have a problem with it. And if anything, for some of your narrow-minded fans, I'll say, it draws an incredible amount of heat. So you already have that built-in heat, along with now her having, Vicky
Vicky
Guerrero as
Guerrero.
her mouthpiece, who draws in a tremendous amount of heat. So no, I don't have a problem with it. As a matter of fact, she's maybe one of the bright spots for me.
And here's my thing. Like I said, I agree with you. I don't have a problem with it because, like you said, she's careful, or at least try to be as careful. She's not pulling a Nia Jax.
Right.
That's for sure.
And I almost brought that up as well. Yeah.
And like I said, her adding Vicky Guerrero to the mix, I think is gonna really get her name out there. Like I said, she was great on her own. What sucks is Awesome Kong being gone because that rivalry right now would have really set that women's division on the map. Having
Absolutely.
two big athletes feuding. Like I definitely don't have a problem with it. I could see if she was just, you know, if you remember they had the issue with the transgender female fighting in MMA, and she basically was beating the hell out of these females. If it was a
Yeah, that's a
situation
little
like
bit
that,
different.
well, if it was a situation like that, then yeah, I would have a
Right.
problem with it. But I think she respects the business enough to know, what she can and can't do, what she's capable of doing and not doing. Okay, next question. Does AEW have the best tag team division?
All right, and I've argued with this with the Georgia Indie Report editor, Rodney West. I disagree with Rodney. Rodney feels that they've gone in a bad direction with their tag division and doesn't really like a lot of their tag teams like Butcher and the Blade. For me, this is the deepest tag division maybe in all of wrestling. I'm talking around the world. You look at Pentagon and Ray Phoenix Jr. You look at the Bucks.
You got Private Party.
You got
got
Private Party, who's excellent tag team, and then you have Omega and you have
Adam Page.
Right.
You got the hybrid
Jimmy
too.
Page.
You got the hybrid too. You got the natural nightmares. I mean, then you have guys. You have Santana and Ortiz. You got SCU,
Jungle Boy, and
Yeah.
Luchasaurus.
Exactly. I mean,
So to me, you've got a very deep tag division. You've got even tiers almost to a point where you have like jobber tag teams somewhat,
exactly,
or a mid card tag teams, and then you have your upper card. So to me, this is the deepest division in all pro wrestling.
Exactly. And we talked about, now I keep going back. We talked about who's going to be a big star in AEW, and I think had the NWA shut down because of COVID, Ricky Starks now is probably going to be a big star in AEW.
Yeah, and I enjoyed NWA. NWA may have been my favorite wrestling to watch. Right before all the COVID mess had messed everything up. But yeah, that I was a big fan of his then, and I'm enjoying him in AEW now. I like the pairing with him and Taz and Brian Cage. That's another thing that people kind of harbor on the page. They're not into the Brian Cage Taz deal. I like it. I like the FTW title being presented to him. And I think Brian Cage looks like a monster. I think he looks like the real deal. And with Taz as his mouthpiece, I'm into it, man. I like it.
Do you think they did that because of what happened in Impact with him losing to Tessa Blanchard?
No, I don't think that. I don't think they were confident in his mic ability. I mean, that's a possibility. Daryl, but I think it's just, they're just not as confident in his mic ability. He's got the look, he's got the in ring, in my opinion. Uh, Not so much on the mic right now. So that's where I think Taz kind of comes in, and he suplexes people around like rag dolls, and I think that's how they got the whole connection with Taz.
Definitely. All right. Let's see. Let's go down to the next question. Thoughts on Orange Cassidy?
Orange Cassidy, I have no problem with Orange Cassidy. That's a very hot topic on our page as well. I think half of our page likes him and half of our page strongly dislikes him. And my opinion of Orange Cassidy is this. I think Orange Cassidy is a great talent. I don't, with the gimmick that he has right now, I don't like seeing him in the main event picture. That's just my taste. He's got a comedy gimmick, and you can only go so far with that style of comedy gimmick. So for me, I've enjoyed his feud with Chris Jericho, and I'm glad that it's elevated Orange Cassidy, and the match was great as well. But at the same time, I don't see this guy as my TNT champion or my AEW champion.
Well, it looks like they're slowly kind of getting him out of that because if you saw the AEW, he's actually talking now, or at least he talked for this.
And yeah, they're evolving the character, which is good at least.
And that's a big that says a lot about him. You mean you feuding with Chris Jericho? I mean, one of the greatest. Then you beat him on TV. I mean that says a lot. That says a lot about Jericho.
Yeah, and Jericho's always been a giving guy. I mean, he'd put anybody over, man. I mean, especially if it makes sense. So Jericho's always been a class act as far as that goes.
Yeah, and definitely shout out to him and the other wrestlers who, donated to the late Kamala.
Right. Yeah, that was pretty awesome. It's a very tragic story with Kamala. He didn't really make the kind of money you would have thought he made in the business, and struggled a lot of his. I guess when he got in around his 50s, I think he struggled a lot with diabetes and everything.
I got a story about Kamala. When I was real little, I used to be afraid of wrestling. My great grandmother, God rest her soul, was a huge. She was deaf, but she loved wrestling. She was a big fan of Junkyard Dog and Kamala because I lived in Louisiana, so it was just straight.
Oh wow!
Straight Mid-South. It was straight Mid-South going to the Superdome. And, if you go back to the early 80s, Kamala was very scary looking.
Yes.
Because of Kamala, me being scared, and if I got in trouble, I had to sit and watch Kamala, I really started liking wrestling. And I remember going to my first event in a Superdome. Of course, we were late, but I remember walking in. I see Skandar Akbar, Kamala, and the one-man gang in the ring. Who do I see bum rush the ring? The Fabulous Freebirds.
Oh,
and
I've been
in 1986, 2020. I'm still a fan. I mean, that was my introduction to live wrestling, and I've told Miranda Gordy that story when I had the chance to meet her. Shout out to her. She actually had an auction today. She had an auction today. Shout out to Jason Jones, Mid-Stage Wrestling, those guys. Man, they had an awesome auction. I don't know how much I spent. I don't even want to see that invoice when I get it. But I'm definitely, once it comes in, I'm definitely going to show it.
Well, Terry Gordy's actually buried over here in Chattanooga, very close to me, about maybe 20 minutes from me.
Right, and her daughter's actually going to be doing a show there soon. I know she's going to be wrestling at Jerry Lawler's 50th anniversary show at the ballpark in Jackson, Tennessee. She's going to be wrestling.
I saw that. I would love to attend that show. That would be such a cool show.
And allowing about a little over 1,000 people to come. And I believe she said she was wrestling Thunder Rosa for that event.
Wow. And, she, spoiler alert, she did sign with AEW.
And she did not mention that, so I'm going to get on about that. Like I said, now let's talk about the TNT title. So before we get into the actual question,
Mm-hmm.
what do you think of the finished product?
It's definitely grew on me, especially with the gold being added and everything. I like it, man. It's got a TV title type feel to it, but I think Cody's been able to elevate it almost to the AEW World Title level. So especially, and I love how he's gave all these guys the shine by wrestling just about everybody on that roster. So and has presented them as strong in their matches. All the matches have been very very close. So I enjoy the belt, and I think they've done a great job booking the title.
Hey, I definitely agree. And if you was on the Snap Custom page, I kind of posted a spoiler alert, so I'm not even going to bring that up. So we're going to pretend like, I never posted that. So it's going to lead into the question: who do you think should be the next TNT champion?
Who do I think? I was thinking about this the other day actually, and depending on the direction that you've heard that they're going to go with this four horseman thing, if this doesn't materialize into anything, I don't mind. I would like to see MJF get a run with that, defeating Dean Ambrose, John Moxley.
All right, who's that guy?
I've never heard of him. But I think he would make an excellent heel champion. I think he could weasel his way out of a lot of title matches. Right when you think he's finally going to get what he deserves, he somehow weasels his way out of it. I think he would make a great champion, to be honest with you. So, yeah, if I was booking it, I would probably book him as the next AEW champion to get all that heat.
Actually, for the TNT title, there's actually two guys.
Oh, TNT
I would like
title.
To see. We're gonna jump. We're gonna jump on the world title too.
Okay, I'll get with the TNT title next.
But there's actually two guys I would like to see with it. Even though he's not wrestling now because of COVID, I would like to see Pac have it, take a shot at it whenever he comes back.
That's a great choice.
And I would like to see Shawn Spears. I really like what they're doing with him.
Yes.
Especially with Tully being with him. I mean, this is a whole different side. This is nowhere near Ty Dillinger at all.
Yeah, and this could really elevate him to get a win over Cody, because what they're doing now, Cody's giving everybody the shine, but what people don't realize who are complaining about him being too much like Jeff Jarrett or whatever, which is bullshit.
No, we're not even close.
No, it's not, because he's elevating the title. And what happens is when Cody finally loses the title, whoever he loses it to is a made guy. So if you come full circle with their feud at the beginning of AEW, and you have him defeat Cody, I like that idea, Daryl. So yeah, I'm down with that.
Nice. So, we talked about the AEW championship. I know you mentioned about MJF possibly getting a run with it. So the question is, should Chris Jericho get a second run at the title? If not, who you think should be the next champion? I mean, let me jump on this for a minute.
Okay.
I agree with what you said about MJF getting a run with the title. I believe at this point he really doesn't need it right now. I know at some point he's gonna get it.
I would agree with that.
He is the heel, point blank. But I do see him at some point actually getting a title. I would like to see Chris Jericho with a second reign. I think he put that title. Number one, I think he put it on the map. He made that AEW belt look awesome.
Yes.
Especially with the fact that, like I said, it's Chris Jericho. He's a legend, bona fide Hall of Famer, coming to AEW. I think this is the best Chris Jericho, the best version, I would say, of Chris Jericho. Do you agree or disagree?
There's so many different versions. This is definitely one of my favorites. I'm still a mark for even the old school comedic Jericho on Nitro. I love that even. I like the Jericho that was feuding with Shawn Michaels, who ended up punching Shawn Michaels' wife in the face. That was a great one. But yeah, this one's pretty good though. La Champion and the bubbly and
The
everything,
bubbly,
man. He's killing it, dude. He really is.
and on top, he actually selling the bubbly. I mean, like I said, I
Oh
think
yeah,
this is the Chris Jericho. I
some
think he
marketing genius.
exactly, and I think this is the Chris Jericho. I think he actually probably wanted to be for so long, and
Yes.
he finally got to do it. And no matter whether he's good guy or bad guy, he is over because how many people will sing your intro to the ring and you're supposed to be a bad guy?
Yeah, and he's having a blast with it, man. You can tell. I mean, even with the whole jacket thing. I mean, the complaining on the commentary. He's done so well on commentary as well. He's just killing it in every area. Definitely AEW's MVP.
Yes, and I mean they did events on the Jericho cruise. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that to me.
Oh,
You
I
did
know. I wish I could have attended that.
AEW Dynamite on a ship.
Yeah, that's freaking awesome. I love the different settings, and this is why every Wednesday I actually get excited to watch AEW a little bit more than I would say Friday Night SmackDown or Raw or even NXT because of the setting. Because I like the fact that they got their event outdoors. It's just different and it's refreshing, and I think that's why I'm such a fan of AEW.
And I think with AEW, they're not afraid to try. I mean,
Right.
yeah, I mean they're not afraid to say, like I give example with the event, the match they did on the football field. So some people might say, no, I don't know about that, but they made that work. I know
Yeah.
some of it probably was a little on the cinematic side, but I mean that's different. And sometimes, like especially with a new promotion, you got to be different. And one thing about Tony Khan, he's gonna put the money up to make this work.
Yeah.
And even with like I said, with the COVID and being in Jacksonville, Florida. I mean, if you're old school, you would know Jacksonville, Florida. If you go back in the day, that Jacksonville place called the National Guard Armory that they used to do wrestling shows at, that is a wrestling capital. Oh, that's one of them. If you real old school, you would know that. So, and bringing it back to Jacksonville after all these years, a lot of people thought, why Florida? Why not?
Oh man, Florida's a hotbed for wrestling as well as Georgia,
That,
and Tennessee still is to some degree, but Tennessee used to be, I would say, one of the top hotbeds for
yeah,
professional
I,
wrestling.
like I said, you're in Chattanooga. I'm in Memphis. I mean, that Mid South Coliseum, right the way for me, was a hotbed for Monday Night Wrestling, and I was
Oh,
at least glad
absolutely.
I could at least be glad to say before they shut it down, I got to see a few shows there. They're talking about taking that whole Mid South Fairgrounds area
Yes.
and just redoing everything, opening up the Coliseum, putting hotels over there. I mean, just making it beautiful, reopening. They used to have an amusement park called Liberty Land there once upon a time. I mean, redoing that whole area. And I mean, if they do that, I'm confident wrestling's coming back to the Coliseum.
That would be great. Yeah, I would definitely attend an event there. That's something that would definitely be on my radar.
And like I said, like I do a lot of the events in Jackson, Tennessee, since they can't do the Omen, which is if you see the Omen Arena, which is a baby version of the Coliseum, and
Yeah.
this arena sits literally in a neighborhood. It just
Oh wow.
sticks out because there's the arena, there's some homes across the street, there's some apartments in the back, there's a college, like there's Lane College right before. I mean, it literally just sits there. But like I said, that's one of those classic arenas. I mean, it's
Oh
to me
yeah.
that's perfect for especially for indie promotions. That is a perfect place to do professional wrestling.
For me, I grew up. Used to call the Roundhouse, um, which is the UTC Arena, McKenzie
Mhm.
Arena, whatever you would like to call it. That's where I went and saw a lot of the WCW events. I started watching the early '90s, but of course, I go to the video stores and I get all the '80s stuff. And man, I've just been a diehard fan since I've been a kid,
Yes.
and then going to the shows just maybe even more of a diehard fan. The first show I ever went to though was at the Dalton Trade Center. It was a WWF show, and the main event was the Macho Man Randy Savage versus Jake the Snake Roberts inside a steel cage.
Nice.
Awesome.
I remember my first WWF event was in '95. They opened up that the arena downtown St. Louis. It's been 3,000 names. 3,000. I don't even know what it's called now, but it was the arena in St. Louis. The main event for that show that they advertised was Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart. This one, Shawn Michaels, the Intercontinental title back from Jerry.
Yes,
and they fought Jerry Lawler and Hakushi. That was the advertised main event. Then they end up doing Action Zone. They did Action Zone.
I remember Action Zone Saturday mornings.
They did,
or was it Sunday mornings? I can't remember.
I believe it was Sunday. They did an Indian strap match. Was Bam Bam Bigelow and Tatanka. They did the
$1 Million Corporation.
Yeah, this is all $1 Million Corporation. They did the Undertaker and Kama in a casket match.
Oh, I remember that feud.
They did. I think it was Diesel. It was supposed to have been Diesel and Sid, but it ended up being Diesel and Yoko in a cage.
Oh, that would have been interesting.
Diesel, I believe Sid hurt his wrist for that event.
Or he was playing softball.
As they say.
He could have been playing softball. Who knows?
Well, that was like Shawn Michaels, and who would have thought that back then they would actually team up to end up having the issues that they had over time,
right?
To go back and see that.
That's and I always found that interesting. I went to In Your House show, a Final Four in Chattanooga, where it was Vader, Brett, Stone Cold, and The Undertaker. And one of the mid-card matches, one of the first matches, was Triple H and The Rock. And just thinking, years later, how big both these guys would become and how that would sell out a freaking dome right now, Triple H and The Rock. But it's interesting to go back. It's like, man, I've seen these guys, before they were big.
Exactly. I mean, and think about it, back then, it was Hunter Hearst Helmsley and Rocky Maivia.
That's right, for the Intercontinental title.
Now, do you see? No, let me backtrack. Who would you like to see come to AEW?
I think that AEW needs that mainstream type star. I would have liked to have seen a CM Punk come to AEW. That doesn't seem like that's going to happen. And as much as people may bark at this, but if AEW were to land someone like and this is very far-fetched, but a John Cena or just a mega star, someone who has bled over to pop culture, I think you could get AEW over that hump to where they're seen as almost equals to WWE, and it definitely would help in the advertising area. So yeah, I think like a big name would really, really help out AEW. As far as just like independent talent, there is so much independent talent out there. An Ashton Starr, a AC Mack, a ton of independent talent I would love to see in AEW.
Definitely. Now you want to talk about? I'm gonna just throw some names out there. I think somebody like Ricochet needs to go to AEW.
Yeah, I think he would definitely benefit more in AEW than he does in WWE.
I think he should go to AEW. I think, and this might be a little. I don't know. It might happen if AEW sticks around. I would love to see Bobby Roode in AEW.
Yeah, I would love to see Bobby Roode get a run somewhere, man. I mean, I feel like he's kind of wasting away on the roster right now.
And I truly believe at some point, and you've heard it here on the Get Snap podcast, at some point, Jeff Hardy is going to AEW with Matt.
Yeah, I could absolutely see that once. But I don't know what his deal is. I don't know if he just signed a new deal or what his deal is. But I could definitely see by the end of his career him joining his brother, and imagine some of the matches they can have, especially with the Hardy Boys in that division, which I'm sure will be even deeper by the time Jeff Hardy gets over to AEW. So, yeah, I would love to see that.
Well, let's flip that. Who do we see in AEW you think would be a better fit in WWE?
Uh, be a better fit in WWE. Oh man, whew, that is really tough. WWE doesn't have the best track record for booking certain talent, and that's why a lot of that talent has grew in AEW because
Exactly.
they've been booked properly. Um, that's man, that's really tough. I think that possibly, yeah, I think that a guy like Lance Archer could
Agreed.
possibly benefit maybe even better in WWE with the mentality is that's like the prototype size guy, and the fact that he can move around the way he moves around, I think that he would be uh, hugely over in NXT, a top star in NXT, and then moving over to, yeah, absolutely. I think that he could probably benefit a little bit more in WWE than he can AEW.
Now, this,
Um,
the person I see, and I think it'll probably benefit more like a 205 live-ish kind of thing is Sonny Kiss.
uh-huh.
I think Sonny Kiss, if if they pulled him in WWE, give him a good cruiserweight title run. I mean, despite the quote unquote lifestyle, so I think Sonny Kiss is a great athlete. I don't see AEW benefiting him. I don't see him going no further than teaming with Joey Janela. They're probably never going to win the tag titles.
Right.
So I would definitely like to. He would definitely be good in that cruiserweight division. Um, I see Sean Spears going back at some point.
Mm-hmm.
I think if they keep the attitude, keep the look, bring him back a heel. I don't know if they will bring him back as Ty Dillinger. They probably will.
Well, the WWE, once you've gone out and you've made a name for yourself, at least they're kind of good at it. When they bring you back, they give you that personality. Like, okay, well, this is what got you over when you left. Continue on with this, and that's what you've seen almost with the Drew McIntyre
Exactly.
or and some of the other talent that was there and then left and came back. They were a lot more over.
Definitely. So let's go into this question. I'm gonna kind of modify it a little bit because it looks like to me it's gonna be. We're gonna just take WWE out of this question. Let's look at the. I see this as a rivalry between AEW, Impact Wrestling. It looks like they're just grabbing, 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 grabbing. Who do you see winning that war?
Between AEW and Impact Wrestling.
Yes, with all the new
Uh,
talent Impact just got, with the
mhm.
roster um, AEW has right now. Do you see it
I
being
just
better?
think that with the money that they have behind them, I still think that AEW has the potential to get bigger name stars, even people outside of wrestling, like a Mike Tyson. And then with wrestling has a lot to do with TV deals, and
Exactly.
TNT is an excellent TV deal.
And who would have
Um,
thought that they would actually bring wrestling back? I never thought that in a million
Never.
years would come back.
No, but then nostalgia was in style. Nostalgia has been in style for the last couple of years, so it's like, oh, everything old is new again, and then you kind of saw it. You saw it kind of come. You'd heard rumors like that's where AEW was going to go, and that's exactly where it went.
Let's talk about sleepers in that company. Like I said, they got up. I would say a nice balanced roster. But who's the sleeper that nobody's really talking about? And let me go with this one. I think they're
Okay.
not talking about, for me, it's super bad Kip Sabian.
Right.
I think they're I mean, they'll give him that we know him. They'll give him that name, but I think that I mean, he has Penelope Ford with him, but I still think something's missing with this kid. I mean, I'm a fan of him personally, but there's something's missing. I think he's going to be a sleeper. He's gonna come. Give him another few months, maybe give him another year. If AEW still around, he's going to be a name that a lot of people are going to be like, why haven't we pushed this guy?
I think Sammy Guevara, which you mentioned him earlier, is a big time sleeper. I think that you have the potential to really build this guy up as Jericho's protege in a way, and then you do the split eventually, and Sammy's a star once he starts
Mm.
feuding with Chris Jericho. So I think Sammy's probably going to be my sleeper. Kip Saban, the audience I don't think is connected with him. We haven't got to know him enough yet. I think there's still possibility that he connects with the audience and kind of catches fire. But you know, speaking of connecting to the audience, Orange Cassidy has definitely connected with the audience, and that's why he's
Uh,
getting the push that he does.
we got
Go
some
ahead.
break. We got some breaking news.
Okay.
For on the UFC Heavyweight Championships, Stipe Miocic has retained. He won by unanimous decision. So if you get mad that I gave that spoiler, my bad. But it's over now. So
Well,
I've been
Damien
watching,
Cormier, he's a huge wrestling fan, so maybe now that he's lost his fight, he'll go ahead and come on to the WWE. But
and the way
he's got to wrestle with a shirt on or something though, man.
yeah, so get back in there because I can't wait to hear this interview because he didn't take that win. I mean, I've been watching the fight those time. It's actually been a good fight, but I would like to see. I would like to definitely see him there. But let's talk about this. What is the hit and miss with Kenny Omega? Like you got people like Jim Cornette that can't stand him.
Mm-hmm.
Then you got he was big in New Japan.
Right.
Do you think he's connecting in the States? And I say this
No, I
WWE.
don't think he's. I
I
don't
think
think he's connected in the states.
Do you think that's
Uh,
why WWE slept on him, or just kind of
no,
let him go?
WWE. No, WWE wanted him really, really bad. He chose AEW, no doubt about that. He picked AEW, wanted to stay with his friends. I think what Rodney West had mentioned on the page, the Georgia Indie Report on Facebook, if you want to look them up. Um, he thinks that Kenny possibly is lacking that certain opponent like he had in New Japan, and that's why it's his opponents that he's been wrestling. For me, I think it's a little bit of that. We haven't seen him in a story that connects him with the audience. That's a major problem with AEW right now. Is some of their stars aren't really connecting with their audience, and with Kenny being in the tag team, I was really enjoying Kenny and Paige, and some kind of slow turn to where Paige was turning heel or becoming an alcoholic or something.
Right.
But now they have shifted gears and they've started listening to their fans. And Kenny slapping around Mark's.
Yeah,
Help me out here, Marco Stunt.
Stunt.
Yeah, slapping him around and just kind of showing some signs of being a heel. I absolutely would love to see Kenny turn heel. It's going to be easier for Kenny. And Kenny, people forget Kenny was an excellent heel in New Japan.
Oh,
And I
exactly.
think before Kenny can become a face, Kenny has got to become a really great heel.
Because I got the opportunity to see Kenny Omega and Ring of Honor. It was one of the WrestleMania weekends where he fought Cody. And I think for those who saw that event, it got a lot of attention. And I think
Yeah,
that
I
got
was
his
very much
attention.
into Ring of Honor at that time.
And I was actually at that event. I mean,
Oh, wow.
the Super Card of Honor event. Like I said, I'm from New Orleans, so I actually got to go to that event. And that's the only reason why I chose to either go to NXT, Takeover, Ring of Honor. And the only reason I went to that Ring of Honor event was to see Kenny Omega and Cody one on one. That was it.
Yeah, that was booked so great and it was built so great. That with Cody being the heel in that, but Kenny had turned face for that, and Kenny has been face ever since. But now I'm starting to like, man, I really miss Kenny as a heel. I think Kenny will be able to get over to the American audience as a heel.
Agree. So what do you see Ring of Honor next 5 years?
I think I see Ring of Honor
I'm
exactly where they're
I'm
at
sorry.
right now.
I'm so yeah. We'll combine them both. Ring of Honor, AEW, Impact. We'll just bring them all. Where do you see those companies? Do you
Oh
think
wow.
any of them will still be running then?
Yeah, I think they'll be running maybe on fumes. I think Impact's going to continue to get better. But does Impact draw uh, a big network? Um, no, I don't think they do in the next 5 years, and I don't think ROH continues to be on Sinclair, and I don't think Sinclair is going to pump much money into that. So I think Ring of Honor and Impact are going to stay pretty much where they're at right now. They may get a little bit more critical acclaim. Their shows may get better, and they may even sign some pretty big names. But I don't see them going anywhere without a big television deal.
I
As
went.
far as
I,
AEW, just real fast, as far as AEW, I continue to see them climb and to get better and better. And I do see them on more of an equal playing ground, especially if WWE continues to put out the product that they're putting out right now.
we were talking about Ring of Honor. I went to a Ring of Honor show again in New Orleans, and it was in conjunction with Wildcat Sports.
Right.
It was at the University of New Orleans Lakefront Arena. I mean, that's a nice size arena for a wrestling event because when they did the Super Card of Honor show with Cody and Kenny Omega, they drew at that time was the largest attendance for Ring of Honor.
Oh yeah,
So they
I
came
can see
back.
that.
They came back and did this event. Yeah, just pretty much everybody on the floor. I don't even think they drew 1,000 people. I mean, just looking around at that arena, of course they only used half of it, but they even couldn't fill half that. I mean, I don't know what it is because if you look at Ring of Honor on TV, I mean, it looks like a lot of people. When you go there, I mean, it was disappointing for me to see that. I don't see AEW doing that. I think AEW is going to push and push and push and probably don't do the big venues, kind of what ECW used to do. Work those small venues, get that market, and then when
Right,
you do
continue to build on your momentum.
build on that momentum, and when you do your big whatever your quote unquote WrestleMania may be, if it's all out, then you hit those big arenas.
Right. Yes, absolutely. And I think hitting some of those big arenas, it goes back to what I said earlier, is getting a big name or two to really catch headlines. Like, oh my God, I can't believe Cena. It's kind of like when Hogan went to WCW. You know, somebody like a Cena or even a Brock Lesnar or a Randy Orton, somebody like that. It's like, oh my God, like what they're outside of WWE. What's going on? I got to check this out. It helps with marketing and it helps, helps them get to those big arenas.
I wouldn't be surprised. No, you brought that up. I would not be surprised. One of those names. I wouldn't mind. We talked about who should go to AEW. I wouldn't mind seeing either Kofi or Big E go to AEW. Because
Yeah.
right now we're never going to see Kofi be world champion again. I think even though he won pretty much everything there is to win, but I would love to see him go to AEW. I would
Oh,
love.
absolutely. Yeah. I would love to see, there's a lot of talent in WWE. It would be interesting to see go to AEW to see just what AEW would do with that talent. Uh, and I mean, I guess a little vice versa with AEW, but you just get the feeling that if a Kenny Omega or Young Bucks went to WWE, just be like they had a new toy, they'd play with it for a little bit, and then they'd set it down.
Yeah, but they'll do if you go back. Cause remember when the Young Bucks were in Impact when they were Generation Me, they
Yep.
basically buried them.
Yeah, they had a lot of problems in or TNA at the time.
I think if they win now, I guess because the management better, it'll be a little different. But I'm looking forward to see, even with COVID, and that's one thing I appreciate about professional wrestling. They're trying, they're doing what they can. I know it sucks for a lot of the independent companies, and I know you probably felt the wrath. A lot of companies out there couldn't do stuff. A lot of companies are closing down because of this. Like I said, I'll go to USA Championship Wrestling. They were doing shows in the Omen Arena. They'll do their tapings in a small little part of the Omen. They can't do that now. They went and got them a little small building, like in this little closed down strip mall. Shout out to Studio 45. Normally, I would have went tonight, but had a lot going on. But they got them a small, used to be a restaurant, a club, or whatever. And those guys together, they painted it up, got their logos up. They do their events there Thursday nights, Saturday nights, and they go to other parts of Tennessee do events. But those Thursday nights, Saturday nights, they get a nice crowd there. Of course,
And
it's
who runs those shows?
Burt Prentice.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
yeah,
All right.
that's
Has Jerry Lawler been on any of these shows?
he's been on many of them.
Oh,
Oh
awesome.
yeah, yeah. He the last one I went to, they did the television tapings because Burt Prentice is actually he wanted Burt Prentice to do his 50th anniversary. Man, he's none. If you go back to the USWA,
Oh
Burt,
yeah, I watched that as a
Burt Prentice,
kid, man.
Burt
Used to
Prentice,
watch it all the time.
and I think he's been doing shows, especially like in that Nashville, Chattanooga, Gladeville, all those areas for years. He had NWA Nashville for a minute, and if you go back to the page, you probably remember this. I think I put an NWA Nashville when they had a super young Randy Orton on that show.
Yes, yes, that's pretty awesome.
So he's definitely been around. But yeah, Burt Prentice runs.
Everybody, everybody's got to support local indie wrestling. You never know on that show who could hit the big times.
Exactly.
And it's so much fun to go to a local show and support these guys who aren't sometimes aren't getting paid very much at all. So definitely support your local wrestling shows.
And that's what it like. I said, I did the auction today for mid stage wrestling. I mean, I got some awesome stuff. I said once I pay for it, they send it to me. I'm going to be showing that on the Snap Customs website. But before we get out of here, is there anything you want to plug? Anything you want to say to the? I'm gonna call them the Gist universe is being overused, so I'm gonna say the Gist Snap Galaxy.
All right, the Get Snapped Galaxy. Check my page out, Elite Marks on Facebook. And if you want to play Elite Marks Fantasy Wrestling, just look it up, Elite Marks Fantasy Wrestling, and ask for the ad. We'd love to add you on there and get you playing. Like I said, we play for prizes. Occasionally, we might bet just a little bit of money, not much. And then, of course, we exchange the titles. So we're very much into it, and we'd love to have you a part of it. And we'd love to have you listen to our podcast. Just look up Elite Marks Podcast, and you'll get the Zack Attack Podcast, Old School Podcast, Georgia Heat, all of that stuff. And we appreciate you.
And I definitely appreciate you coming on, being my special guest. Y'all heard what the man said. Check this stuff out. Support these podcasts, man. I know there's many out there, but there's only a few that's gonna come out, talk to you the way it is. We're not here. A lot of this is unscripted, it's unfiltered, and it's basically just us. We're wrestling fans. So it's wrestling fans for wrestling fans. So
Yeah, and we want to have you guys on, and especially on Zach's podcast. He's a big action figure collector, and we want to have you guys on to talk wrestling action figures for sure.
yeah, I can. I mean, you hit me up, but I'm more available. I know, like I said, Wes, he's working on figures. He's running his store. I'm definitely want to come on you guys' show. I just want to talk, like I said, just like we did tonight. Just have a good time. And like I said, before we get out of here, again, we out here. There's COVID going on. Wear your mask, people.
Please,
This stuff is spreading. Is
so we
not
can get
getting
back to
better.
normal.
Yeah, so we can get back to normal. See, you hear it on the news, people still catching it, people still passing away. It's just the little things you can do can save your life.
Absolutely.
So with that being said, and like I said, it's already Sunday morning here in Memphis. I'm about to head on to bed. I know you probably about to too. So I want everybody to be safe. We appreciate you listening to us. This will be posted on Snap Customs website. All the links will be there. All the places, all the social media platforms you can go to. We out of here. And as Boss Man would say, as always, stay snap.